might work. Oh, okay. I guess I'll start writing now. I posted on Instagram that I was gonna do, or that I'm gonna do, like patents. I'm gonna write them here, and I'll explain them a little bit, but I don't want to go into too much detail because I haven't spoken to like an IP attorney yet, though. Yeah, I haven't done that, so I want to be safe. So I'll explain it enough to like so that you can like picture what's happening. Maybe I'll explain it that well, or that precisely. So basically, what I'm gonna do is I'll tell you a little bit about how I came up with this, because I have a bit of a unique medical history. Been through a lot of, I've had a lot of like abdominal surgeries, and these ideas are ones that I think that would be helpful for people recovering from such surgeries. And the reason I think that they're patentable, I haven't done any research, but I've been cut open 4 times and never heard any of these as possible solutions to my problem. So I guess I'll just like talk, because I don't want to write and talk at the same time. Don't want to like half-ass it. Back in 2009, I had a Meckel's diverticulum, which is a growth of. It's a growth. I've heard that it's a growth of stomach tissue, so it would produce whatever the stomach lining produces, right? And I've also heard it's a remnant of the umbilical cord, and so basically just picture it as like a sausage looking thing coming off of the small intestine. And so in 2009, what happened is, and it's like hollow, there's volume inside. So what happened is, for one reason or another, back in 2009, it got really swollen and inflamed, and what that likely means is that like the neck of it pinched off, and there was some infection or something inside, causing. Sorry, I'm still a little bit sick. Causing swelling, and ultimately caused a perforation of it. So it split open, but it didn't quite burst. And that's good, because I got to the hospital like probably 24 hours. No, probably maybe 12 hours after it. I have no idea, just based on the pain, and there was a significant shift towards the end. So I'm assuming maybe 12 hours it was perforated, and letting digestive tract contents out into my coelom, my body cavity. So I was septic, so like I was really sick, not just like in pain from this inflamed organ, but real just sick. It just felt so sick, hurt all over. Anyway, they did a surgery, and they found that, right? And so they snipped it. It was like either 5 or 7 inches. I've lost 18 inches of it, small intestine. I've lost 16 inches of small intestine and 2 of large intestine, so 18 total. This last time it was 7. 5 of small intestine, 2 of large intestine, including the cecum and the ileocecal valve or junction, basically the muscularized sphincter that separates the small intestine from the large intestine. And in case you don't know, like what they do, the small intestine basically digests it, which means breaks it down, and it does most of the absorption of nutrients. So there's digestion, breaking it down, and absorption of those nutrients. And then when it gets to the colon, the large intestine, that its function is just to soak up water, right? So basically, once it gets past that junction, it's deemed waste, right? And there's a lot of water in that waste because the small intestine dumped the water into the contents, right, to digest it. So it had a solution to work around it. It wasn't like trying to pick at a solid thing. So you get this liquid contents into the large intestine, and as it goes through, it's got a lot of surface area. It's like ballooned, but at the microstructure or microscale, micrometer scale, whatever, it has little cells called villi. They're kind of like hairs over the whole, like a shag rug. Think about it like that. And that gives it a lot more surface area. Like every little strand of that shag rug can absorb water. So it's got a shit ton of surface area because it's like hairy. And you consider all of that hair, like all the surface of that hair is surface area. So it absorbs water very well and then turns the contents into what you expel in the bathroom. Shit. Okay, so that's how that works. Losing the ileocecal junction is a problem that I haven't solved yet. But that missing a muscularized sphincter will degrade my absorption, my reabsorption ability, but it won't kill me. What could kill me, what has tried to kill me, is bowel obstructions, right? The first time it was from that perforated Meckel's diverticulum. That swelling radiates out from that growth and will clog the rest of it, right? So that blocked it up. After a week and a half, I was getting kind of worse. Like, I was like healing up, but my digestive symptoms were plateaued or getting worse. Getting worse because I was starting to lose weight. I was fed through a PICC line. So this is the newer, that's the newer PICC line spot. And let's see, this, can you see that little white thing? Maybe. Okay, so you see that white thing, kind of. You kind of see that white thing. That was where the PICC line went in 09. And then the more visible one is where it went in this time. And the PICC line is basically a tube, right, with a divider all the way through it. And that is so uh, you can inject, essentially intravenously insert whatever, inject fluids that you wouldn't want to mix. Um, Essentially, think curdling milk. So you can do like, I think what they often do, what they do is they put lipids through one and then like sugar, uh, sugar and protein through the other. Um, and it's pretty cool. Kind of cool, kind of freaky if you're not. If this shit makes you queasy, but basically it's a tube. It goes in here, and they have it stop right before it enters your heart. So it's right in front of the valve, and that's at the biggest. What would it be? Like a systemic vein system. So vena cava, maybe. But anyway, it's right by the heart. Really thick vessel, so it's tough, which is a problem I'll explain later. Really thick vessel, so it ends there so that when that solution, those two solutions that you don't want to mix and curdle, when they get out into the system, there's a ton of turbulence right there because there's blood flowing through there, right, and a valve right there, and it's all tough. Like that tissue is a lot tougher right by the heart than it is out here, right? So the reason they'll do a PICC line is one of the reasons. Like one is it's more sterile, apparently, like because of the processes around it, I think. But the other is because some of the solutions that they would need to inject are some that they do are damaging to the vessel, and I saw that firsthand. And I kept like taking steps forward and then back. So like I had a lot of IVs in, and both of these veins, you know that like that main one on your forearm, this one, it like hardened, and so then we went to this one, and I was in this one longer, and I guess it kind of swells, but this one hardened and is still kind of hard. That's why you don't want to be flowing. What's it called? Infusing reactive stuff, or really just like high volume of stuff through those smaller veins, because they're not as tough, and a little swelling goes a long way when you consider the walls are certain thickness all throughout, but the inner diameter gets thinner and thinner. So if you get that swelling down in a thinner area, it's much more likely to just cut off the blood flow there. And that's a problem, but I don't think it's a huge problem because your body can make detours, basically. Use detours and then kind of grow detours. Anyway, the first surgery, removed that growth, tried to clean out my system a little bit, went on antibiotics, all that stuff. The second surgery happened because I wasn't getting better from the first. My bowel function wasn't improving. So I had that one, and they when they went back in, they saw a readhesion of the anastomosis, I think. That's where when you cut a section out. So basically what they do when they take a section of your small intestine out is they cut it like this, And then they take that section out, throw it away, right? And then you've got these two ends of hoses. What they do is clamp the ends, right? So then imagine my hands are like the clamped ends, and then they fold them like this, cut a hole here and here, stick them together like that, so that they can sew this, like, I don't know how they get the, anyway, that's generally how they do it. They don't go like that. They seal it up and go like that. And that's, I guess, an anastomosis. So mine had completely, it had healed closed, essentially. The scar tissue, which is a crapshoot because everything's moving around. Think about, like, your small intestines are like spaghetti being stirred constantly. It's just moving around. So scar tissue heals pretty randomly. In this case, it closed it back off, so I wasn't getting any function back. I couldn't fart or poop. And so they went back in, saw the readhesion. They sectioned out 2 more inches. Same thing with the clamping and and then they took out my, like, piece by piece in 3 pieces. Apparently, they took out all of my intestine, all of my small intestine, to basically check it all and make sure it was all okay. Also, I forgot to mention the very first surgery, they took my appendix out. That way, if I had problems in the future, they could rule that out right away. But the second surgery, they as they were, like, looking through the rest of the intestine, they found a benign tumor. So they sectioned out 2 more inches there. And then after that, I started to get better and essentially recovered. Although I went into the hospital at 1:45. Freshman year, the night of my first freshman football game, I was going to start on offense and defense, receiver and cornerback. And instead of playing, that was like a Friday night game, which is rare for a freshman. We normally play Saturday morning. I was going to play under the Friday night lights, starting both ways. And instead, I had that first emergency surgery, emergency exploratory surgery on, I don't know, around noon on Friday. So I didn't make my game. And the whole time, I was in the hospital for 28 days. The whole time I was there, I was thinking, like, I'm missing the season right now. I got to get back to it, So I went in at 1:45. I came out of the hospital at 1:19. Most of it came from my legs, unfortunately, because I had an NG tube in most of the time, and it's got to be hooked into the wall. It's like a pump that takes all this, like, your digestive system's constantly making fluid and pushing it out into the tubes, right? So if it can't go out your ass, it's got to come out some way. So they put that tube in your stomach so that it doesn't build up and make you throw up constantly. And you do throw up constantly when you need that and you don't have it, because it just can't go out the bottom. So after a certain amount of time, it'll fill up enough that you get the urge to throw up. And then, because the rate that you produce that fluid and pump it out is relatively constant, the urge to throw up, you hit that threshold fairly consistently. So what I experienced is, like, after 5 minutes of being, like, detached from the wall, I would start throwing up, and it was just about every 2 minutes I would throw up. That's a problem because you got your abs, like, incised, cut through, and then, like, staples. I'll show you real quick. So If you get queasy easily, don't like scars and stuff, look away. I'll tell you when to look back. So this, and it goes, so obviously you can see the bottom of this this newest incision, but it goes down to about alright, about where my thumb is. It goes all the way down there, and so up to here. Right. Yeah. So that is it. What was the point of that? Oh yeah, you're cut through, and notice these like tracks. Those are from staples, and so when you're throwing up, you're heaving hard, right? Pulling at those staples, that causes pain. You take painkillers for that pain, but painkillers paralyze your digestive system, the muscles that pump it, that peristaltically push shit through. Ew. Sorry, OnlyFans. That's what this is. I gotta be quick. Shit. I'm just gonna start the patents basically, because I'm not gonna. I'll tell you what they're about. I'll start them. I'll date them. But I'm not gonna write full patents tonight. I gotta get food. I'm hungry. Okay, so I had surgeries this or summer of 2020, COVID summer. I had on the 4th of July. I drove over to Tahoe to hang out with some buddies from back home in Ohio. I was feeling kind of shitty on the drive. I was feeling pretty shitty that night, and I called it a night at like 6 p.m. on the 4th of July because I felt so sick. Like my stomach just hurt really bad. And it got worse and worse. Like I stayed there. It got worse and worse. Finally, I asked him to take me to the ER at like 5 the next day. Yada yada. There was a lot of scarring. So the first surgery they did. Let's see. Here, like an incision here, like this is like 2 centimeters, this is like 5 centimeters, and then they did like 1 centimeter here, half a centimeter here. There's 3, and then 1 centimeter here. So here's 2, 3. The first time, and they found 6 parts that were tied up with scar tissue, and so they cut up that scar tissue, whatever. Hopefully it'll get better. Didn't get better. About a week and a half later, I have another surgery, and basically they saw that there was a section in the small intestine, in the ileus, that it was one of the strictures, I guess, from the original surgeries. But basically there was scar tissue around it, pulling it real tight closed, and it was inflamed because there was a lot of pressure there, right? So essentially this thing was like, it was really narrow, but then it was swollen. So it was like a butthole. Basically, think about it. So like stuff can go through, but it's not open. Like if you blow, it's not going to go through, but stuff can go through when there's pressure on one side. So that's apparently what was happening. And that's why I didn't have to have surgery right away. is because when the pressure got real high, it could kind of like spurt stuff through, essentially, relieving pressure slowly. Essentially, slowly relieving pressure as it builds, but probably getting more and more inflamed, and the backup part is getting more fatigued and inflamed, damaged. Anyway, they had to go in again and actually cut that out, and they one of the incisions was like, or one of the section points, terminals, whatever, ends, was 2 inches up my large intestine, up my colon, and then, what was it? Okay, I got some number wrong, but basically 2 inches of cecum, and I think 5 inches. Yeah, just 5 inches total, because it was 4, and then it, like, you got the hose. He cut 4, but then he saw a stricture right here, so he cut off another. Maybe it was 3 and then 2, but anyway, I lost 7 in that surgery, 5 of small, 2 of large. But the point is, it was caused by scar tissue, and their answer for scar tissue, like how do you not have this happen again, is like do all the healthy things, make sure you're walking and exercising a lot, and be on top of it. If you feel something like that come up again, be proactive about it. Don't let it get to the point where you need another surgery. My doctor said I essentially don't, like, no matter what happens, try not to let them take any more intestine, because I'm at the lower limit of how much you need to absorb the nutrients that you need. So I think that if I lost a little more, I could probably get by on like easily digestible, like, meal shakes and stuff. But if it goes too much further, then I'll have to be fed by a tube. And I assume it's a PICC line, and that would be a tough life. That'd be tough. Because basically you need this sterile thing going in your arm here, going down to your vena cava, and precisely rationed, whatever, precisely planned meals every, like, scheduled like a hospital schedules antibiotics. Like they have it on a schedule, and you get it within minutes of when you're supposed to get it. So imagine that for like every meal, or say it replaces half of your meal. Still, you have to get it frequently because they're worried about blood sugar spikes. So they have to be really consistent, because they're essentially putting straight glucose into your bloodstream. That's also why you'll have to be hooked. I'll have to be hooked if I had this problem happen where I couldn't digest and absorb stuff effectively enough. That PICC line would feed me, and I'd have to be on it, like attached to an IV pump most of the time. Sometimes I could disconnect, but because of the sugar, apparently, you want a fairly constant stream, at least of that. And by that I mean like I was actually, they didn't even like me to take showers because I'd be disconnected from the stream of sugar and could have like a blood sugar like bottom out or whatever and like pass out in the shower. I had no problem like that. I never got like blood sugar low from being disconnected. I did a few times, but it wasn't really correlated to being disconnected from the feed. Anyway, I really do gotta get food. Scar tissue is the problem. It causes the recurring problems. Right now, I've got a list of the things I think are most likely to kill me, and it's number 1, a bowel obstruction. Number 2 is cancer. 3 is CTE. If the first 2 don't get me, the third will, most likely. I've had a lot of concussions. I had second impact syndrome in 3rd grade, where I had 8 impacts, like concussive impacts within a week and a half. So it was a football scrimmage. Then we had a football practice, and I was like a running back practicing kick-out blocks against the D end. 5 consecutive like knockout hits. My head was just fucking killing after that. Just bad. My neck was hurting too. Then another football scrimmage, and I was the running back and middle linebacker, right? So I was always against their running back and middle linebacker. And that tends to be the most, at that age, 8th grade, it's like the most athletic / aggressive. You know, the guy that hustles and hits hard and runs fast and has got a motor, you know. So I was always going against my counterpart. And I was the small, fast type, definitely, for that position. Anyway, with the first scrimmage, it was Big Al, St. Mike's. Some of my friends watching this might know him. If you see this, Al, no problem. It was fun playing football against you. And then the other scrimmage was Debo. If he's watching, or my friends, they'll know him. Same thing. It's not a thing you can plan. It was fun playing football against you and with you at SC. Concussions. Okay, so then I had a baseball game. I laid out for a ball in the outfield, hit my head on the ground, and it was like the most minor of the impacts, but it kind of set it off. I started crying, like on the field. We lost what was essentially like a scrimmage game. We had like played 3 seasons a year, and it was a between season scrimmage essentially that we lost, and I was crying over it. That's not normal. And then the next day I had this just worst pain of my life in my head, and I thought I was gonna die, and I couldn't see. Like, light was coming in, but I couldn't see stuff. Like, it was like I had blind spots everywhere, so like I would have like disparate images everywhere, and I couldn't put them together. It's like a fly's eye, but where the pictures don't talk to each other. I went in. They tried to test my retinal pressure, and I had like a seizure on the chair. And I think they weren't able to get that like reading, and they warranted the situation like serious enough to go to an MRI, I believe, and they found a non-active bleed in my brain. I couldn't read for like 2 months after. It took me like a week to start to be able to see fully. reading was tough. It was weird because it took a lot of thought to turn the words, like the letters, into words. But even just reading, the reading part was hard. Like seeing the letter and knowing what the letter was. Turning the vision into idea, and then turning the idea into word and then to meaning wasn't like all of that was as hard as just READ, like getting that from the paper to my head. That was the tough part because vision was tough, at least at the beginning. So then I started having migraines all the time. Still have them maybe once or twice a month, but it was once or twice a week for years. And these things would last 2 or 3 days, 2 at the shortest, 4 at the longest, but generally 2 or 3. In the first day, the first sign I feel is like a little, like a tingle or a very slight numb sensation in like one side of my nose. Really weird, and the more pronounced that like early symptom is, that kind of predicts how bad and how long the migraine will be. It seems correlated. It seems to be correlated after all the migraines I've had. All right, so scar tissue is the issue, right? And so I was in the shower and I've been stretching today. Like I worked out yesterday pretty hard, all full body. So today I was like working out light, but doing a lot of stretching. So when I was in the shower, I continued that basically, and I was doing myofascial release on myself. And that's basically what I did was a myofascial release of the of the skin there off of the abdominal wall. If you know what I'm talking about, do not try this, especially on like a surgical incision. Myofascial release, don't do it on a scar. I tried it on myself. This is how I had this big, like, whoa, this could be it. I tried it on myself, and I noticed, so first off, there was nerve pain, right? But very localized. And so just diffuse, kind of sharp but diffuse along the boundary. The boundary being like pulled up off of the, you know what I mean? Like basically you got like a wedge and then you got something being like peeled. Brat, that's so ugly. I need 2 different colors. But okay, so basically you got like a wedge kind of thing going on, and what I felt was nerve pain right around here where it was like lifting off. And when I say nerve pain, I mean it was that sharp, doesn't last long, like a nerve ending pain, like peeling a Band-Aid off where it It hurts right then, and once it's done, it like doesn't hurt at all, pretty much. But anyway, I was doing that release, and it was like working slowly, and then it slipped fully, and I felt that telltale nerve pain that is streaking, essentially. I think about it like a lightning, like a mini little lightning bolt. Doesn't hurt that bad. Is very discernible, because it feels like a streak of that sharp pain, and just for a moment, and then it's gone. It doesn't hurt anymore. It's almost like a static electric shock, right? It's that painful. It's not that big. It doesn't hurt that bad, but it's very distinguishable, easily distinguishable. So I felt that, right? And that told me those two layers actually separated, likely. And that's a huge thing I didn't realize, because I had done myofascial release on other places. I never thought to do it on my incision. That still seems a little crazy, a little risky, but I did it, and it seemed to release as it ought to. And I've only done half of my incision, and only the easier part, the upper part, but it's off the abdominal wall now. Like, I can move it around. See how the scar is like moving? Well, I guess that's moving too, but it's pulling everything with it, right? This thing, right? Like, and so what I think what happened when I released it, it was like pretty red. So I'm assuming there was like some blood flow. It was kind of like healing together, kind of. Whatever, it caused some damage. But I think that it'll continue to readhere. And so for this technique to be effective, after an initial release, you want to continue to knead it, essentially, like KNEAD, whatever, like you knead dough. And people that have had bowel surgeries will probably know that method anyway, the kneading your guts. It's I've actually been having a really upset stomach the last few days, and that's why I was working on it. And that idea just kind of came out of nowhere when I tried it, and it didn't injure me, and it did seem to help. And it's no longer, it's like flush with how my, like when you look this way, it's flush with where it should be now. It's like, it was like, this is pinched, right? You see that's like pinched up against there. So I can't move that without moving the underlying abdominal wall. This release seemed to break it off of there. And so I think that this could be a very effective and easy method of basically physical therapy well after a surgery for scar repair, and especially like issues in mobility, range of motion due to scarring. I think this would be effective. And so one of my first patent is that external idea, the first patent idea. I'm gonna is sloppy, but whatever. US patent, Mikey Vita. One is Scar. Skin versus, I'm looking for the word, the skin layer versus the muscular layer. It's connective tissue from each, but basically I'm saying ectodermal connective tissue from mesodermal, or I think it'd be mesodermal, right? Muscular layer. That's what I'm saying, but I mean the muscular layer. Same with ectodermal, I mean the skin layer of connective tissue. I don't know vocab. You don't need to know vocab. It's about the idea. Okay. Time is it? It's 10:06 p.m. 1/15/2021 PST. Okay, so you see that, right? Star on there. So that's at 10:07. 10:06 I have written here. And signed there. Okay, so that's the first patent. The second and third they go together. One is a device, one is a technique. I'm not going to go into these very much, but I will say that it leverages the same idea of myofascial release. So it does hinge on scar tissue adhesive behavior internal to the abdominal wall. It requires that those adhesive properties be the same as external to the abdominal wall. And if it is, then this technique using this device could be a way to break up tissue in there relatively non-invasively, no incision. Is probably a little bit more invasive than a colonoscopy. Medical people will probably understand where I'm going with that. If there's no incision, it's a little more invasive than a colonoscopy, and it's fixing small intestine scar tissue. You can probably put it together. I'm not going to paint too much more of a picture because that's where it starts to get proprietary, essentially. But basically a device and a technique to achieve a similar disadhesion to what I experienced in the shower. And again, if you know what I'm talking about, don't try it. It's not a good idea. Talk to your doctor first. I didn't talk to my doctor first. I should have. I tried it. I did it very slow with low pressure, and just let it release. I didn't try to push it off, and waited for the click, essentially, which was that little streak of pain, right, that shoots through. I know that pain because I was incised, right? Everything was cut. And so as it's healing, nerves start to grow back, crossing the incision. And so when you start to stretch out your incision and stuff, you'll break those little nerves, and you'll get a little shooting pain from it. And it literally feels like it follows the track of where that nerve is, which is cool. How does it know where it is? Wild neuroscience stuff. I don't know, but that's how I knew there was an actual release. Why I think the main reason I know there was a release is because I felt it release, and it was loose off of the. I was elated, I realized what I had done, and was like, this might be it. This might fix it. Might fix it for a lot of people, hopefully, especially these second two patents, which we'll start writing because I gotta get food. I don't want places to close. Okay, 2 is device. So I'm just gonna draw a really rough thing. This is this is not a good drawing, whatever. Yeah, it's just gonna be a bad drawing. It's okay. The idea is, it's about the idea, and this is not gonna be the final, the final thing I write on this. But twice. This, depending on, the medical industrial capabilities, essentially our manufacturing, how well we can manufacture small medical devices. This could be very useful for other things. I just realized I really got to kind of keep tight-lipped because I don't have. It's all up here, and on this, wherever this shit saves to, and on here. So it's not fully developed. So what I'm looking for with these is provisional patents, I guess. So lock a timestamp down. That's why I'm doing this stream, and then I'll this is a timestamp, so I can develop it while it's a provisional patent. Get a lawyer to help me out. I don't want that much help from the medical side, but obviously I want it approved like that. So as I'm developing it, I want it because I want this to be my idea, basically. I think that's fair. I've I've got a problem. I figured out how I might be able to solve it, and how others might be able to as well. So if this, you know, if this goes the best way it could go, and I were to get approved patents that bring money somehow, what I want to do is set up. My parents gave me charity fucking allowance when I was younger, $6 a week, and two had to go to charity, two had to go to savings, and two could be pocket money. So I like that model. So if I were to make money from this, that's what I would want to do. I would do 33.3 repeating percent to charity, the same to savings, and the same to pocket money. So with that charity part, I'd set up a foundation. That way the foundation is being fed, and it will be assured to go to charitable causes. And that's something that I've had the privilege of being able to think about, because my parents do a lot of charity stuff, and I like to find opportunities to give effective charity, if that makes sense. When I say effective, I mean the teach someone to fish versus giving them a fish type stuff. And that's something I've enjoyed doing, looking for opportunities for them. And so with my foundation, that's essentially what it would be, is it's money there to help people as the need comes up. And I definitely would welcome, invite, and encourage people to give me suggestions on that, because like I said, I want to set it up as a charitable foundation, but we need to do the charity, and so we need to find effective ways of doing it. Anyway, that's that. I have this device. What happened? So this second patent I'm writing is really, it's kind of like two in one. There's a device and a technique in it. Okay. So this isn't super like clear. But okay, so okay, what else? Okay, that's fucking weird, but whatever. This is just showing you that it's a guy or a person, whatever. Okay, so let's see, this is 1022. Okay, so signed and dated there. Hope that wasn't too visible. Doesn't give too much away. 1022 PST, it's 1:15:21. And shit. Well, there's the signature and the star, and I'm gonna put a star inside the star. At 1023. So 3 potential provisional patents, and a long medical story. Sorry, this is like an hour and 5 minutes now. I meant for it to be like 15, but it's not. Whatever. Hopefully it's educational. Hopefully this works effectively as a timestamp. Hopefully I can speak with an attorney and figure out how do I do this so that it holds water. It's not Swiss cheese. And how how do I present it? How do I make sure it's legit? How do I make sure there's not other potential solutions? how do I submit evidence of it working? Because the only evidence I have is my sample size is 1, right? I tried it on myself and it worked. And there shouldn't be emotion put into patents, but I'm very hopeful about this. I did the easier half of my incision. I'll show you again. I did the easier half, this top half, but you can almost tell a change, like a difference in color. This is all pink, and it just fucking moves, dude. Like, okay, here. It doesn't pull, right? But here, it pulls. It's a little tighter on that side, but I can, like, it's loosest like here. So I can tell there's like, it still kind of adheres, but if you work it, knead it a little bit and stay on that so it doesn't heal and hurt every time, I think it could really fucking fix that problem. So I still have to do the harder part. Not looking forward to it because it was a little painful. Again, do not try this. I don't even know if it's safe for me to do. And I tried it out of necessity and stupidity. I've done myofascial release before and severed a nerve tube. My right greater occipital nerve, I believe it's called. Basically, there's like nerves that come up your neck to supply your scalp essentially with feeling. And so those nerves run along the spine and come up through your muscle layer to branch out here. And right here, I was doing myofascial release, and I have to go to the bathroom really bad now. But I was doing myofascial release, and I was using a hard tool, and it slipped and ran the tool over that tube on top of the bone, like that little spur in the back of your like skull there. So it like slipped and went kind of like I don't know if you have like a macaroni noodle between two like pieces of wax paper, and you took the like back of a butter, and it was a long macaroni noodle. Took the back of a butter knife, and it was like on a hard table, and just like slit it so it pinched it severed, right? I did that with myofascial release, so don't fuck around with it. I don't know if it's safe or not. It seems to have worked initially for me, but I guess we'll as this develops, I'll figure out what we can do with it. At this point, an hour, 8 minutes, 30 some seconds. It's 10:28, January 15th, 2021. Yeah, if you're seeing this live, the one person who is, I appreciate you watching. ATP Pro, Matt, I believe, ATP, adenosine triphosphate Pro. He's really good at making energy. It's a fat joke. Terrible fat joke. No one will know it because who thinks ATP Pro? Who thinks it's adenosine triphosphate? Apparently I was the only one. Who's going to connect that to fucking eating too much? Whatever. I love you, man. I enjoyed talking with you. If you are him or whoever's my viewer right now, or if you're viewing this post-tense, then thanks for sticking around for an hour and 10 minutes. And enjoy your, I believe it's Saturday, right? Friday. Enjoy your Friday night. And I'll be back on maybe in an hour streaming video games. COD probably, but yeah, I wanted to do this separate. And if I see you there, great. If I don't, that's okay too. I love you anyway. All right. See ya.